Steve, Monroe, New Jersey, the great WABC. Quickly, go.
Mark, how are you?
All right, thank you.
I got to tell you, I listen, and I just find it unbelievable that the Republicans cannot figure out exactly why they lost and will continue to lose until they, and listen, I have nothing personally against anybody, but until they distance themselves from far-right people like yourself and Hannity and Rush, there's just no chance of ever succeeding.
Let me explain something to you. Lower him down because he's an idiot. Let me explain something to you, Steve. You don't deserve liberty. You don't deserve to live in a free society. You don't even know what far right is. You have no idea. People who defend the Constitution, private property rights, individual sovereignty, people who are concerned about a massive out-of-control federal government that rejects its constitutional moorings, people who resist being turned over to a massive administrative state and mastermind temporary politicians who run it. You're as stupid as they come, Steve. We're the ones who are resisting tyranny. You're part of it. You're a clown. You're a follower. You just go along with it. This isn't a joke, pal. We're losing our country. You get it? We're losing our country. Do you get it? You don't get it at all. And there's nothing I can do to help you. And here's the problem. You get the vote, and you drag the rest of us into your world, into your dark, bleak future, and you drag our children there. And that's why 57 million of us are fed up and furious. You got it, Steve? Yes or no? Now get lost, pal. This is what we have, ladies and gentlemen. Uninformed people. And when we get rid of you right-wingers, stop following Rush, Sean, and you're following anybody. I'm following our principles. I'm following our heritage. This guy rejects Western civilization. He rejects the Enlightenment. He rejects our founding. Ha, ha, ha. Very funny. You won an election. We're all screwed. That said, we're not giving up. But can you imagine? It's meatheads like that guy, by the millions, who seek to control our fate. What is it that is so right-wing about what I say? Quoting Alexis de Tocqueville? Quoting John Locke? Charles de Montesquieu? That jerk doesn't even realize that Montesquieu and Locke are crucial to our founding, are crucial to the revolution. Has no comprehension whatsoever. He's lost. He's gone. And he thinks he's smarter than the rest of us. He's exactly the kind of guy Alexis de Tocqueville described, and I just read to you. There are millions of them. Please, government, just give me a check. Feed me, clothe me, house me. Tell me what to buy, what kind of light bulb I need to have. Tell my wife or my girlfriend what kind of contraceptives you're going to give her for free. This is what this guy is. He's existing. He's not living. And he's hopeless. Utterly and completely hopeless. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, simply the smartest man on radio. And you can call him 877-381-3811.
I have no patience, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, for defenders of tyranny. None. De Tocqueville said the democratic nations that have introduced freedom into their political constitution at the very time when they were augmenting the despotism of their administrative constitution have been led into strange paradoxes. To manage those minor affairs in which good sense is all that is wanted, the people are held to be unequal to the task. In other words, we're not capable of doing even the most minor things. But when the government of the country is at stake, the people are invested with immense powers. They are alternately made the playthings of their rule and his masters, more than kings and less than men. It's difficult to conceive how men who have entirely given up the habit of self-government, listen to this, it is difficult to conceive how men who have entirely given up the habit of self-government should succeed in making a proper choice of those by whom they are to be governed. And no one will ever believe that a liberal, wise, and energetic government can spring from the suffrages of a subservient people. Man, this guy was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. In other words, he's saying, when you reach this stage, like the stage we're in, we're going through the motions. We are a conquered, a defeated people. Again, I'm not trying to upset you. What I'm saying is we have to recognize what's going on, and we will fight it. I talked about it at length Wednesday night. We will fight it. We do not accept this fate. But this is the nature of things in this country today. And to pretend otherwise is to pretend. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Rich, New York City, the great WABC, go.
Mr. Levin, I support you totally, but the electorate's changing, especially here where I live, and Republicans are becoming fewer and fewer, and I think I'm scared, and I just think I would like your comment.
A comment on you being scared?
Well, yes,
I thought what you told the call screener is Republicans need to adapt to a changing electorate. Did you not tell him that?
I don't think people that the electorate's changing, they don't want to listen to what the Republicans have to say. They're voting for the person who gives them their benefits or their welfare. I'm sorry.
Well, that's quite right. So how do Republicans adapt to that? By giving them more?
Well, they're not going to be voted. Any Republican will. I had candidates here running unopposed in my area because no Republican wanted to run against them. That's how bad it's getting.
Yes, and there are areas of the country that are like that, no question about it. And all right, sir, thank you for your call. Now, let's think deeper. He asks a very interesting question. What can we do about this? There are answers. The answers will not be found. Uh-oh. Mark's about to say something that some may disagree with. The ultimate answer will not be found at the precinct on Election Day. The ultimate answer will not be found at the precinct on Election Day. Let me take it a step further and focus it. In federal elections. The ultimate, think with me, come on. The ultimate answer will not be found at the precinct on Election Day when we're voting for federal offices. Does anybody listening to me honestly believe, now come on, take off the Republican hats. Does anybody listening to me honestly believe that Boehner and company are capable of helping us reverse course? Well, Mark, it's half of one branch. I didn't ask you that. Even if they controlled all three branches of government. You know, at one point they did. At one point, George W. Bush and the Republicans controlled all three branches. That is, I should say, both elected branches in both houses of Congress. And what did they do? So where's the answer here? Is it in the Republican Party? Well, maybe in the short term. Remember I spoke the other day about short-term goals and long-term goals? Maybe in the short term. But there has to be a long-term strategy, because this ain't it. Well, Mark, what about Marco Rubio? Mark, what about Paul Ryan? What? Those are short-term solutions. They're not long-term solutions. Let me give you a hint. Our long-term solutions will not be found in the federal government. You with me, Mr. Producer? Our long-term solutions will not be found in the federal government. I'm going to leave it at that, because this is what I'm working very, very hard on, frankly getting exhausted with. And our long-term solution is just that. It's a long-term solution. It won't happen in the next 3, 4, 5 presidential elections. And yes, the country may well be gone, if it's not already. But still, there's certain things we can do. I'm not talking about praying to God, although pray to God by all means. There's still certain things we can do, if we choose to, as a people. But again, one of the problems we have is we are surrounded by a conquered and defeated group of 59 million fellow Americans, perhaps more. You hear them. They're actually cheery about their own economic and political enslavement. They're cheery about it. They're happy about it. They mock and attack those of us who resist it. You heard that jerk that just called. I forget his name. Oh, Steve from wherever. And then we get the Republican politicians. All they want to talk about is how do we win? How do we win? Only Romney can win. Only McCain can win. Everybody else is an extremist. You got to reach out to this group. The electorate's changing. Modernize the message. These are clowns. Absolute clowns. In Obama, we're dealing with a demagogue who is advancing the cause of tyranny. That's what he's advancing. He's not advancing the cause of the working people, the middle class, equality. He's advancing the cause of tyranny, because that's what he believes in. An all-powerful state. That's tyranny. And he's cheered on by millions of people. He's cheered on by a media that will be destroyed once it takes full force. But those of us, you in this audience and I, we comprehend what's going on. We see it. We know it. We're way ahead of the curve, and that's why we're frustrated. But there are some things we can do. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to develop this. I'm not hyping anything. I'm literally working on it. But you think it through. I'm not taking calls on this. You think it through, and you may come up with it yourself. The answer's not in the federal government. Do you actually believe, having been through Republican control of the executive and legislative branches of our federal government, Republican and Democrat control of our legislative and executive branches of federal government, Democrat control, supermajorities of the legislature and the executive branch, do you actually believe these people want to reduce their power? Do you actually believe these people want to ease up on controlling how you live? Have they given us any evidence of this whatsoever? Oh, people talk a good game. They cite the Declaration and the Constitution. A lot of my little conservative friends out there writing on blog sites and websites, they're out there pushing it too. If we could only do this, and if Murdoch wasn't running and this one wasn't running. Do you really think that that would stem the tide of tyranny in this country? Of course not. Short-term goal, we want as many conservatives as possible in Congress, on the courts, and in the executive branch. No question about that. There's no question about that. And I take a backseat to nobody on that. But I am talking about a system that is fundamentally broken, and intentionally so. Since the early 1900s, Woodrow Wilson, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and forward, as they say. And it's in hyper mode right now under this president. Hyper mode. You have to ask yourself, and many of you have, how is it that a president can buy votes with contraceptives? Does it get any lower than that? Do people not appreciate their liberty? Do they not understand what's going on? No, they want free contraceptives. That's the price of their freedom. And they're prepared to sell it because they're either too stupid to know or they don't care. And the demagogue knows this. The demagogue being Obama and all the other hacks who lead the Democrat Party today. And the Republican leaders, they don't understand that the system's broken. They don't understand why it's broken. They're not well informed. They're not well educated when it comes to these things. So they're flailing around. Even some of those who have PhDs and are very smart on TV talking about, well, we got to give amnesty, as if that's going to fix anything. Anything. A broken system. As if that's going to fix anything. It fixes nothing. Modernize our message. You know, the founders were clear about something else. The framers at the Constitutional Convention, they not only feared the power of the few in high places, they feared the power of majoritarianism, and you can see it in California as an example, where large factions of the population seize control legitimately and illegitimately of the government, through elections, through administrative power, what have you. And these large factions, the majorities, or what we call majoritarianism, they take control of the society. And so you see in California what happened. They go and they vote on that Prop 30, and what do? They politically plunder. They're plundering people, depending on what kind of business you have, depending on how much income you have, depending on where you live. The majoritarians, this majority faction, is attacking all the constituent groups, all the individuals who are not part of their group. And you can see it nationally, too. By the way, my dear friend Eric Bolling, that's why we don't get rid of the Electoral College and go with straight majority popular vote. But I'll deal with that another day. He is my good friend, and he and I are going to talk about this offline. That said, you have to understand what's going on in the country. You have to understand the problems, or we're not going to be able to confront them, let alone do anything we can to fix them, which is a daunting, daunting task. We live in a post-constitutional America. We live in a meritopia. More people than not do not believe in liberty. More people than not have surrendered to or been conquered by the Leviathan. I honestly feel that we have a small window, I should say, or a short period of time to do everything we can to reverse this when it comes to our short-term goals. But ultimately, it's going to take a long-term goal to address the system. And I'll be talking about that in a few months, but I wanted to sort of address this now because I'm watching all the silliness, all the superficiality, the surrender of principles, the surrender of arguments by the Republicans, the demagogic demands of Obama, more class warfare, all the rest. You see a society in turmoil. You see tyranny in front of your eyes. That's what it is.